On the receipt of my mother's picture, also known as On the Receipt of My Mother's Picture out of Norfolk, was an elegy written by the English poet William Cowper. Cowper's mother, Anne Cowper, died when he was 6 years old. Later in 1790, at the age of 58, he received a picture of his mother from his cousin Anne Botham, which inspired him to write this elegy lamenting the loss of his mother. Summary of the poem. The poet remembers the language of his mother. Poet's life had been rough without his mother and her kind words. He remembers her sweet smile, which can emanate from only her lips, which had soothed him in his childhood. Even though he cannot hear her voice now, he remembers her words vividly, softly urging him not to grieve and to chase his fears away. He remembers her gentle, intelligent eyes, which still shines on him in the same way. The poet expresses his gratitude to the immortalizing power of art, which can baffle or obstruct the cruel and oppressive claim of time. Cooper welcomes his mother's memories, fueled by the unexpected picture of his mother. He feels honored by his mother's affectionate presence as she was absent for such a long time. He is willing to obey gladly as if the rules were laid down by her. Even though her face in the picture renews his grief as a son, his imagination will wave a charm, create a magic to relieve him by immersing him in a heavenly dream, though momentarily, in which she comes alive. The poet then reveals his plight when he lost his mother forever. He launches a series of questions which reveals the pain he went through during that episode. He asks her whether she knew about the tears he shed. Was her spirit hovering over her broken and sorrow filled son whose life's journey had just begun? He imagines that she must have consoled him with a kiss or a tear, if souls or spirits can weep in happiness. He assumes that she is smiling in the affirmative. He remembers the slow tolling of the death bell on her burial day, the hearse which carried her away slowly, and he drew in a long sigh, wept a last farewell to his beloved mother. He vouchsafes that his memory of her burial day is still fresh in his mind. He contemplates that in her world, adieus and farewell might be unfamiliar concepts. He wishes to meet her again on that peaceful shore so that he does not have to utter the parting words again. He remembers how his mother's maidens, filled with grief and concern for him, often gave him promises of his mother's quick return. He wished for her return passionately, believing in their false promises for a long time. The disappointment still lasts in him, and he feels duped every day and tomorrow to follow. Thus, after many sad tomorrows, his stock of infant sorrow was spent. He had gone to resign his plight, mourning less for his mother, even though he could not forget her. He then goes on to lament about the loss of their pastoral house in the place where they once lived. Their names are not heard anymore. Children of other people walking in his nursery. He remembers his gardener Robin, who used to drive him to his school in his bright but cheap coach, while the poet was wrapped in a scarlet shawl and velvet cap. All this has become a history, their pastoral house reduced to short lived possession. The loss of all the childhood warmth is evident in these lines. But all those painful memories, all the storms, and thousands of other themes alike are affected by the beautiful memories of his times with his mother in that house. He remembers how she made nightly visits to his chamber to see if he is safe and sound, and how she rewarded him with biscuits or confectionery plums in the morning. Before he left their home, he remembers how she used to apply fragrant waters on his cheek until they shone. He remembers about these the most enduring thing of all, her constant flow of love, which never fell or roughened by blind anger, any other changes in mood, or any other constraints. All her deeds are clear in his mind, and has followed him to his latest age, or adding joy to duty. This joy has enabled him to pay honors such as this memorial poem even at the age of 58. He is daunted by the doubt that the memorial might be a frail one, but he is sure of the fact that his mother in heaven will not scorn his effort, even though the dedication goes unnoticed among other mortals. The poet wonders if he could reverse the course of time by restoring the hours he has with his mother. He remembers the time when he would play with the tissued flowers on his mother's dress by pinning them to a paper. He particularly remembers his mother's smile at such moments. She was happier than him, and she would speak softly and stroke his head. He wishes for those moments to come back. He wonders if his one wish is powerful enough to bring those moments back. He stops himself at the thought of bringing his mother back to life because there is so little about life which is left to be loved. He does not want to bind his mother's unbound spirit into bonds again. The poet compares his mother to a splendid ship from Albion's coast, which has weathered all the storms and crossed the ocean to reach smoothly and fast into the port of a safe island where the seasons are bright and where spices breathe. He sees his mother's or the ship sitting peacefully and passive on the waters, her form reflected on the water below while the air around her soaked with perfume cooled her flags into a happy state. The poet admires the swiftness with which the ship has reached the shore, which is not disturbed by tempest or thunderous clouds. She has finally reached her resting place, which is peaceful. Also, her death at such a young age is hinted here by the poet. He also alludes to the fact that his father has reached by her side, safe from the dangerous tide of life. The poet also wishes to reach by their side, but his hope is feeble as he is always withheld from the reaching the port by devious winds. His ship is tossed by the tempest, his sails are ripped, the seams torn wide. His compass, lost every passing day, brings more challenges to the poet. The current never favors him and it prevents him from reaching the prosperous course of the safe haven where his parents are. The poet says that he is rather filled with joy at the fact that his parents are safe, whatever his position on earth might be. He cannot boast of a birth from the loins of royalty or rulers of the earth, but he is proud of the fact that he can claim of a sonship from parents who have found their place in heaven. He suddenly comes to the realization that he must bid farewell to the memories of his mother. Time unrevoked, time which is still in force with his usual course has come into play again. But the poet is content that his wishes are gratified by the help of contemplation. He was able to relieve his memories. Thus he was able to renew the joys that was once his without commenting the sin of violating his mother's rest. He is soothed by the promise provided by the wings of fancy, that leap of imagination which gives him an imitation of the memories with his mother. He says that time has only half succeeded in his theft. His mother's physical presence and her power to comfort him has been lost to him